Thanks for tuning in to another show in the Next Reel family of film podcasts.
Want to skip those ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it.
Welcome to the Film Board. I'm Pete Wright. Each month we take on a new release and put it on the table to figure out what it's doing and why it matters. Spoilers ahead.
What is your name?
Pete Wright.
What is today's date?
It's, March something, I think. It was March when I fell asleep.
Can you tell me where you are?
I'm at a screen. No, I'm not at a screening. I'm on a spacecraft, 12 light years from Earth. I've been unconscious for an indeterminate period of time, and someone decided the solution to global emergency was to drug me and put me on a rocket without my consent? I've been a podcast host for over 20 years. This is the most relatable thing that has ever happened to me. Our mission, review Project Hail Mary. I'm joined, somehow, by Tommy Metz III, Steve Sarmento, and Justin J.J. Yeager. Welcome to Project Film Board. Oh, everybody, we're here. Film Board gathers. Tom, Steve, JJ, welcome.
Hi.
Did we do The Martian on this show?
Yes.
Did we do this? We did,
yeah,
right? This is
I
just...
remember the flick chart theme that I wrote for it.
Yay!
The tune of Copacabana.
Did you?
So great.
Are you hanging a flag on the potential that you wrote a song for this episode?
Oh no!
Oh,
King of
okay.
Diminishing Returns has quit that game.
We are talking about Project Hail Mary, Ryan Gosling, Alone in Space. This is Andy Weir's third novel, second adaptation of his novels. The novel won the Hugo Award for Best Novel and Audiobook, won the 2022 Audio Award for Audiobook of the Year, especially if you haven't listened to the audiobook. Ray Porter's performance is amazing, and his performance specifically of Rocky is really great. So we're going to talk all about this and what this movie means, but let's do a little bit of a grounding. How, of the three of you, how aware of what Project Hail Mary were you going in? JJ.
It was on my reading list for a long time. It didn't make it. It didn't rise to the top. So I desired to read it. So I was aware of it to that degree. But the depth of the story and the vehicle with which it's told, I had no idea about going in. So I knew I wanted to experience it, but I didn't know the details of what Weir had done here.
Okay. All right. Steve, you're a Red Book hound. Surely you read the book.
No. It's sort of same situation as JJ. And I'm sort of in the boat now of wanting to read the books after, because I feel like the adaptation process, you can't do the whole book. And so I find that sometimes you're like, oh, but it would have been better if you'd included this, or you lose the context of this or that, or you really had to simplify that. And so I prefer to see the movie on the merits of the movie. Okay. So my plan is to read the book after, but I'm, it's definitely on my list, and excited, and have had those expectations after reading The Martian and seeing The Martian. I had a general sense of what type of story this may be. So I was excited about seeing it, but didn't know a lot of the details.
Okay. All right. Tom?
I was the one that didn't like the book The Martian because I'm a weirdo. Because it wasn't, because it was sort of like written as diary entries. It never... some part of me needed it to be scary, because I find space to be terrifying and horrifying at the same time. And it wasn't. It was sort of like Chuckley and All About Potatoes, but I liked the movie quite a bit. So I have no plans to read the book, but I did see the movie for this podcast.
I'm so glad you did this homework.
Yeah.
All right.
I will say, I don't believe that I'm going to read the book now too, in sort of a reciprocal way that what Steve is talking about in that, spoiler alert for me here, I really, really liked this movie. And I think I might have been let down because of all those context things you're talking about, Steve, if I had read the book ahead of time. I'm actually really happy I did it in this order, and I'm a huge fan of this movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will just tell you, I think since I am the only person who read the book, I will give you a little bit of a nugget. And once again, spoilers ahead. So if you haven't read the book or seen the movie, what are you doing here? The book, the structure of the book is largely truly faithful to the movie is truly faithful to the book. I was really surprised at just how effortless it felt to do this adaptation in a way that tells the parallel storylines in a rewarding way. All the astrophage stuff, the Petrova line, the Rocky, the Talmiba, all the involuntary conscription, it's all in there. And I think the big changes, there are two big changes at the end. We get the reveal of the biodome at the end on Arid, and it is very humble in the book. And he's also an old man. There is zero suggestion that he will ever go home again. There is no work being done on the rocket.
Yeah.
It's over. He just lives there. And so those are really the only... Oh, and the math. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Andy Weir's signature math. There is so much math in the book. So much spreadsheet, charting, math, coefficients, and variables that I personally, I'm a real island on the book. I found the entire middle section so tedious and boring. It took me forever to get through this damn book. It was a snooze. I am alone, I think, in that everybody I've talked to has loved the book. They think I'm a lunatic. So I take that for what you will. It was a tough read for me. It also very much, and I'm going to go ahead and start with opening thoughts. This is the Martian in cosplay. That is it is a lonely man doing math in space. And instead of a potato, he has a rock-shaped potato or a potato-shaped rock that talks to him, which might as well have actually been a character in The Martian. So I think that Andy Weir has cornered the market on this kind of character. Even Artemis has there's a woman in the central sort of protagonist, but that cleverness, that sort of gestalt of savvy, intelligent, academic science mind is Andy Weir's central strength, and that is at play here. And Ryan Gosling is as charming as he could possibly be, and so I don't know what else to do with that than say, yeah, it was good. Next, JJ, you really loved it. That's your,
I really
you
loved
spoiled
it. And what I will say is that I don't think I could feel better about this movie.
Wow.
I'll say that right away. But I also don't disagree with what you just said. I do see the sort of iteration that this represents coming out of Weir's creativity, but I really, really liked it. I was concerned that I might have a little bit of fear going in, and the way that they told the story was masterful to me. So you're saying that it mirrors what's in the book. I'm very excited about that, and I have lots of reasons why I feel like this script was expertly written and delivered in a way that made things really special for me. I liked The Martian. I liked The Martian a lot. I've shared it with my kids. My kids were excited to see this too. They haven't seen it yet. But this felt like a next level thing for me. It was loaded with positive emotion for me. And the only quibble that I would have would be the length. But I feel like that's getting back into that thing that I mentioned when we were talking about the book. They wanted to, my guess is that they wanted to encompass as much of the book as possible. And so it gets to feel a little long in places, but the emotional notes were perfect for me. So I'm very excited about this movie, and I'm very excited about sharing it with others.
Okay. All right. Steve-O.
Pete, I think I'm in a similar place with you because I love The Martian. I love the science though. I love the numbers. I love the science. And I felt like a choice had to be made. And again, this may be because the scope of the novel, the story itself is so much larger. The Martian is, dude stuck on Mars needs to get home. Simple problem, work the problem. Here we've got much larger problems. We've got a much more complex story of just Grace trying to figure out who he is. Just sort of that sense of that. So we've got multiple storylines. So it's a much bigger story. Takes a lot more to tell, which is, I think, speaks to the runtime. But I think then the science got softened up a little bit, at least in terms of the movie. It's there, but I really wanted a little bit more of the hardcore science, the working the problem type of stuff. Totally enjoy this, and meeting it where it's at, had a great time. But I think I'm also, I prefer something a little bit more rounded. So, thinking of a movie like Arrival, we're going to figure out language and it's going to take us a whole movie to do it. And here we'll get a computer and we'll do it in a couple minutes. But it worked because this is the story that it is. And you can forget the fact that he has that computer rig, and then at all other points in the movie, they're just talking to each other, and I don't see any technology around to translate for them. But I thought it doesn't matter. We just needed to see that they were able to communicate. So now that takes that problem, moves it off the table. We just assume they can communicate. We don't need to get into the dirty nitty gritty details of how that's happening all the time. But it was really, really enjoyable. It was one that my wife was considering going to see, and we saw the trailer where she's like, wait, is that music? Is that Prince? I would die for you. She's like, this movie's rated K for Kleenex. I am not going to, I do not want to go on this emotional roller coaster. I'm just, no, you can go.
Fair.
I don't want to take that on. And it's a different story, but I had a really, really good time. But I think if you go in expecting the Andy Weir of The Martian, this is a different story. He's a different storyteller here. And I think he's doing well with this, and it was very enjoyable.
Okay, Tom, this is your segment, so bring us home.
Well, I'm not the biggest space head. And
did it scare you? Were you scared by it?
I was not scared by it. And I'm not the biggest space head, and the idea of friendly aliens is not something that usually I would turn to. I thought this movie was extraordinary. I thought this movie was so good. There was one part, well, I do agree that it was a little lengthy and it felt a little indulgent at times. Sometimes there was a small element of like, okay, let's get to it. Like, I get it, especially when some of the jokes don't go over. But that's such a minor quibble. There's one part that I hated, and it's when Rocky was hurt. And I only hated it because I felt so much for Rocky. Mm-hmm. They made me fall completely in love with something without eyes or a face. And that alone is unheard of. I mean, everything is in eyes for me, I thought. Mm-hmm. And instead, it was something else completely. So I just thought it was magnificent.
You didn't think there's a new, like, uncanny valley of rocks? It's like so rock, it's almost unrock.
Yeah.
Okay. I am once again questioning my own purpose in life, that I did not connect with this story. I don't think it's not that I didn't connect so much with the movie, because you're right. It's stellar production. And the fact that that Lord Miller did such work to make this a space movie that is a practical experience, that Rocky is mostly a practical on-set puppet, like, and is so believable, is extraordinary to me. I loved it. I did find, and I just a temperature check, parallel storylines. One is, it starts with he wakes up in space, he has amnesia, he has to figure out who he is. Computers are talking to him, he has to do math, and so we have the space like situation that starts very late in the overall narrative timeline of the story, and we have the back in time part, which starts with him as a classroom teacher, and he is made off with by authorities because he wrote a provocative paper once when he was a real hardcore doc. And these two storylines are cut together, in such a way that by the end, one of the major themes of cowardice versus earned courage is addressed within seconds of a cut that says, yes, I'm a coward. And that takes place while he's on Earth. And then later, almost at the next cut, he says, I'm glad I came. Effectively, I earned this. That's an extraordinary emotional moment. But I want to take those two apart and just talk a little bit about which one you guys felt you connected with the most, the Earthbound story or the Spacebound story. Because the Earthbound story is interstellar. The Spacebound story is gravity. Which one did you connect with the most?
That is such a great question, Pete. That is so, like, seriously, like, I hadn't even thought about that coming in. And we talked about possibly coming to this movie with some fear. And a movie that affected me greatly in that respect recently is Adam Sandler's A Spaceman movie, where he is alone in a satellite and then questions his sanity as he's approached by a giant talking spider, which, you know, weird way has some interesting parallels to this movie. And that movie made me terrified to identify with the loneliness of being alone in space. And that's the reason why I bring this up here, is because to answer your question, I identified with Grace in space, finding his way, but I did it but this movie brought me there in a very supported, loving way. That all of the, I guess it's flashback, all of the parallel story of flashback felt like scenery and anecdote to what actually was happening there in now time with Grace. So I was very connected to that, and I felt I didn't feel the fear that I felt with earlier creative ideas. I loved it, and I was very connected to that Grace for sure.
Wow. The exact opposite. Really, I felt that the everything on Earth is very grounded in that gritty realism. I loved the first part of Grace in space of where's the crew, of like, I don't know who I am. I don't know how to do stuff. I'm not the pilot, right? Sitting in the chair, pilot, I'm not the pilot. And then to me, it almost becomes more fantastical that he can pilot the ship. He can do all of these things. He's not a trained astronaut, but he's picked up all these skills. And that became more of the fantasy, where I am more grounded in the science of that, the work, the problem, that struggle of, I'm not the guy for this. That part I thought worked really well for me. That was the part that really drew me in. And the rest, while entertaining, was not as compelling to me because it's just another science fiction fantasy movie with, you know, that touches in reality a little bit.
I think I could have pegged that for you, that perspective. And I think Tom is in the same space. I'm going to call my shot Babe Ruth style.
I thought they both worked great.
Damn it.
Sorry, Penny. I mean, I love non-linear storytelling when it's in a conversation with itself, when it's not just all mixed up,
smart.
To be mixed up, and to show this large path and this character development. I thought I can't really separate one from the other because they're constantly informing each other. And I feel that Lord and Miller are pretty masterful with keeping the tone while it gets very emotional, while it does get legitimately scary, it gets desperately sad at one point. But they keep the tone, like when waking up in a ship, there have been whole movies where that, like what is it? Douglas Quaid and Ben Foster were in a horror movie, and that's pretty much the whole idea, is they both wake up on a ship and everyone else is still asleep. Passengers, there's whole movies where that's the whole plot point. And instead they were like, am I smart? Like they were making jokes when he's walking around the ship. I thought they handled that really well. So it didn't feel like I was lurching back. I thought they complemented each other very well.
I think we should let's land on Lord and Miller for a minute, because Lord and Miller have had an interesting sort of career trajectory, right? I mean, my first experience with Lord and Miller, maybe all of ours, was the Lego movie, which hit me. I didn't want to see it. I wasn't interested in it, and I saw it, and I was so bowled over by the end. It became one of the transformative film experiences of my life. That final reveal, the final twist. I didn't see it coming. It was the most expert bit of filmmaking I'd seen in a long time. And it was one of those experiences that made me say, oh my God, I'm really proud of those guys. Like, that's how stupid condescending I became as a result of how I felt about that movie. Attaboy, you guys nailed it. They've been tied to they've done comedies, 22 Jump Street. They've done but they've been firmly in animation for a while. This is the first live action they've done since Jump Street. They've been tied to Star Wars. They've been tied to big franchises and small. They've been on and off projects. What is your position on their work as directors? Tom, start with you.
I think there's a wonderful, even though I did say parts of this movie felt a little bit indulgent, there's a wonderful looseness to it, but not that Judd Apatow. You can tell it's a linorama kind of just shoot, and everyone sort of improvise and make stuff up. It's a controlled looseness, which doesn't make any sense, but I just feel like they know exactly how to give actors and story and time the patience in order to go to every interesting nook and cranny of it. And I don't get the feeling that they're ever directing by committee. I don't think that they're looking at a stopwatch and being like, oh, it's 10 minutes, so we have to have another blank. Like, it just doesn't feel like a lot of studio films, which is thrilling because these are huge movies. And this is an enormous budget movie, and to give it to them and to bring so much thoughtfulness and patience and caring and humor and pathos and all of that it's wonderful to see. It's the kind of thing that is missing from so many Marvel movies. Not all, but so many Marvel movies.
Well, it's one of those things, like, you can tell these guys, I think, love family and and the spirit of family, chosen family in particular, and just do a little armchairing yourself and imagine what this movie would be like if Ridley Scott had directed it, right? It would be a much more sharp-edged kind of experience. And the things that, Steve, you brought up, particularly around the mechanics of how these two species are able to interact with one another, I think was soft-pedaled in a kind of joyous way that allowed me to imagine what it could be like in the hands of a more sort of tight-edged or sharp-edged director, but not worry about it so much.
No, I agree. And I think that's one of the strengths as directors is what's going to serve the story best. We don't need to get bogged down in the details. We can do that. And to Tommy's point, the comedy, walking around like, am I smart? It comes out of the situation. It's not, oh, we need a zinger here. We need this act. What's a Ryan Gosling thing that he does? We've got a few of the Gosling shrieks in there, but otherwise the comedy comes from the moment of Rocky rolling around like, this place is a mess. It's a garbage pile. What are you doing in this space? It's of the moment, and they find the comedy in that, and it plays it to make it that family film, to keep the balance of the lightness while also the seriousness of the story and the situation that these two guys are in is, really weighty. And so we need that well-struck balance, and they find that balancing act and work it so well, so masterfully. I don't see Ridley Scott being able to accomplish that. I mean, there's the comedy of The Martian, but this is just a different kind that works really well for this story.
And is perfectly tailored for him. Like, he is wonderful in it in so many ways that other actors can be extremely funny, but not like this, because he's both understated and hysterical, which is really a sweet spot. And it's not that anti-comedy Marvel stuff. Right. Where it's just sort of like, he's behind me, isn't he? Or like just sort of like cliche dialogue said in joke fashion instead of actually making jokes. Really charming.
I like one of the things that comes out in the book, that opening sequence where he has to figure out how to get out of bed is long. I mean, it's really funny in the book. Like, it's legit funny, especially because of what you see that they have done to his body to keep him alive in a coma. And so that little Post-it that said always muscles on the whiteboard in the movie, Like they spent more time there saying, "Oh, he must have had his muscles being constantly stimulated while he was in a coma because he wakes up more jacked than he was when he went down." And I find that delightful. Like there were some of those little notes in the movie were really lovely Easter eggs to the book that I thought played very, very well.
Yeah, I think sometime in the last 10 years, we did a little survey with each of us saying, like, who's your favorite filmmaker now, or who's someone that you're interested in? And I think at the time I said Christopher Nolan because he was so interesting. I wanted to see anything he made. Now, after this movie, I want to see everything that Lord and Miller make. I mean, it's the kind of thing where I have enough respect for the way that they treat tone that no matter the topic, I know that I'm going to find something that I enjoy in it. And this one was really special for me in that way.
The movie is, I mean, sure, it's a space movie, saving the universe movie, but I think I think the movie is fundamentally a buddy movie. It's like Butch Cassidy in space,
right?
How did you? We'll talk, I'm sure, more about Ryan Gosling specifically, but I want to talk about the character. Tom, you said you already sort of felt for the rock monster in a way you didn't expect. Let's dig into that a little bit more. What do you think it was that gave Rocky enough personality that you were able to sort of fall in love with him?
The introduction, they take time with it, and with the movements back and forth. And I feel like they studied a bunch of different animals and took movement from a bunch of different animals and then said, okay, now get rid of the fur and the eyes, because there's a real puppy quality. And there's an R2-D2 beepy excited quality to it also. And those are just things that you immediately gravitate towards. I don't know. I don't know the answer because I'm still trying to figure out when I fell deeply in love with Rocky, but I did. And I kept thinking about Foster. Like there was something really puppyish. I know Foster's not a puppy, but there was very doggish about Rocky. And so I gravitate towards that automatically.
One of the things that I think was interesting about the way the Rocky character was written is that immediately, once they have comprehension, once they've got to a baseline of comprehension, which takes them time, but they get there, he immediately has humor. He's immediately like jabbing at Grace. And I think that's really interesting. Like it's the kind of thing of like an assumed personality that you don't get to know until you have that comprehension. And for him, for that character to come out of the womb of creation for us as an audience member, like already having some pith and like all this, like it made it deep and real in a way that you wouldn't expect from something without expressions, like you mentioned, Tom, or without these other very human aspects that we have there. The character's written really well.
Yeah, there's a humanity to him that comes through, despite there are some animalistic qualities, like even the sounds, the cooing, purring type of sounds he makes, these smooth sounds. I'm like, I struggle sometimes of like, because of the simplified vocabulary. Oh, he can come off as just like, sort of a smart animal. I'm like, no, the dude's an engineer of some sort. He can build and construct stuff. So it's those constant reminders of not, Ryan Gosling found a space pet. It's no, he's encountering another scientist or an intelligent being that's capable of making difficult decisions. And I think when Rocky makes that one pivotal choice that's very emotional, I mean, that's why. It's not just the sweet puppy gonna save his master. It's this guy had to make a choice. Rocky had to make a choice about something, and to me that's what makes it. It's the humanity that comes through of he's got a partner, he's got all of these things. He's the counterpart to Grace of like, I'm the same type. I lost the rest of my crew. I don't want to be alone. I'm scared, and all of that comes through. And I think the way that they're able to get that through while still making it family friendly, that he's not a scary space monster, but yet, he can be cute enough to appeal to kids, but still has that human aspect that comes through, I think is what makes him such a compelling character. This
is a thing that I think struck me, that they didn't say explicitly in the movie at any point, but is implied. Rocky was desperate because Rocky lost his crew, and Rocky's a mechanic. Like Rocky is not a Grace level engineer. He was not sent because he was one of the smartest. He was sent because he's good with the ship and building stuff, like repairing the ship.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that comes out of the movie is this understanding that there are things that the Iridians don't understand about astrophysics that Grace does, and that he has to teach them, which is kind of what makes the postscript so interesting, that he ends up being a teacher of science to little Iridians, right? That's because he has something they don't have, which I think goes back around toward this sort of broader theme of friendship between these species across the impossible chasm of space and science. Just they just don't have the same baseline understanding, and we need each other to actually get it done. I think that's a really special nod to to the broader themes in the book that I think, or in the story, that I think play really well. Clearly, Andy Weir is going through some stuff in this book to write these themes. Sandra Hüller plays Eva Stratt. She is the leader of the Earthers. I'm calling them the Earthers now.
All right.
Okay.
And I think she represents one of the interesting conceits of the movie, which is that the movie's grand antagonist is its hard choices, not a single villain. Do you agree?
Definitely.
Yeah.
How do you think she plays? And I know, JJ, you have feelings because of karaoke. Karaoke is involved.
Well, yes, and that, I mean, of all the Kleenex-worthy moments for the film, when Eva comes out and sings the Harry Styles song, that I was a puddle. I mean, it was like the representation of her. I never felt that she was an antagonist, so I really like that you say that, she's not, she represents something that's important, but the real antagonist is having to make difficult choices. I was very moved by what she represented in the story, which was the necessity of survival. And I thought that was fantastically delivered. And when she opens up and sings in the karaoke moment, it was, everybody pays attention. It was an amazing scene. One of my favorite scenes in film, probably in the last 5 years. I loved it. It was very powerful.
Man, JJ,
okay?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I loved that they didn't try to make her a love interest.
Right.
Yeah.
That this movie didn't need that type of love, because there was already enough love in the movie. Most people would try to force that in, and just to have her not, which was really exciting for me.
No, the tough decisions. I mean, that's she really carries that through to when, the other team through an accident, is killed off, and so she offers him this opportunity, but it's not really an offer. It's just, you're going. But we realize she's made that choice. Is he going to accept that choice or not? And because I think in other stories would be like, okay, he's going to be torn, he's going to come around. It's like, no, this is the necessity of what needs to happen for saving the planet, for saving the human race. And yeah, she will move forward with whatever decisions need to be made. And I think that is what drives a compelling narrative, because it isn't about, his will versus her will, or the corporations or anything. It's really just about, when he even, is critical of their, first plan, he's like, well, wait, there's got to be, and they're like, no, this is the plan. This is the choice we have with what we've got to do. And that's the way life is one of my coworkers has a great quote. He's like, people see the decisions we make, not the choices we had. And it is, sometimes that's not, the decision you make is the best of the worst options available. And that's what you live with. And I think she's a great testament to that. That's not what she would have wanted, but that's her best choice.
And was it hinted, maybe I saw it wrong, but was it hinted that maybe this was always going to be the ultimate choice? Because when he tries to run and he gets to the fence, the razor wire is on the inside of the fence. He looks up at it. There's just this one shot. So it's meant to keep people in more than keep people out. I just wonder if they included that shot to be like, oh, this was inevitable. whether he was going to or not. No one's leaving here until we figure out this problem. Maybe.
That's interesting. I had never considered that. I don't remember that as being a part of the book. But clearly it was because she had people standing by, at least at the point of that scene. She knew she was going to need reinforcements. We talk about like the loneliness of space. We talk about the fear of the sun going dark and killing everything on Earth. This scene was the most terrifying scene in the movie for me, right? Hands down. The way she plays it, the act of experiencing a loss of agency, in a loss of self, even when, what's his name, his buddy, is standing upside down, by our perspective, Carl, over him and says, "You're going to do great," right? That then, that did not assuage any of the just fear and terror of the experience of being held down and injected. That was terrific and horrifying.
Yes.
I spent most of the movie trying to remember where I knew Carl from. And then is the pastry chef from The Bear.
Yes, he is.
Very nice.
Yeah. I think I even said, "The bear," like at some point. I had no internal monologue.
I will say that during those jumps, going back and forth between the two narratives, I considered multiple times as it was happening, if we were meant to understand that it is Grace's recollection of these.
Yeah, I never figured that out.
Yeah, and I got to the point where, especially with the scene you're talking about here, Pete, that I don't believe it is. I actually think it is done just for the narrative purpose of it. I don't think it is him remembering per se. And that scene, I agree, it was terrifying. And I think the actress Sandra here, especially in the office, and she did have everything set up. She knew she was going to have to do it, but you could see the humanity in saying, please, like, she didn't want it to go this way because she likes Grace.
Yeah.
She doesn't want it to have to be this way, but it does. And
she's going to keep
powerful.
liking him when he's sciencing in space.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Well, that scene is a great sort of pivot for me because the way the camera holds on her face in that extreme close-up is one of the things that makes it so haunting. The cinematographer behind this one is Greig Fraser, who's off Dune and the Batman, and we've talked about Greig's work before. This movie, I think, is beautifully designed and beautifully shot. And I just want to say this from a quote from Miller in a recent Hollywood Reporter interview. Quote, "We built the sets for the ship vertically and horizontally for the two different modes of gravity. We had to shoot with the set tall like a lighthouse and then turn the set on its side like a train car and shoot the other half of the scenes that way. At one point, Greig Fraser and visual effects production supervisor Paul Lambert were like, 'This is the most complex film we've ever worked on, and we just finished making 2 Dune films.'" There
It
were
does feel
reported
incredibly practical.
It's incredibly practical. There were apparently no green screens used on set, which I don't know how to make that work. But that was the quote. There were no green screens used on set. This was a response to that comment from the reporter.
Wow.
Go ahead. Just think about that. That feels like maybe sleight of hand in the interview process because I find it so hard to believe. But
like they went back to blue screens.
Blue screens. Yeah, exactly. It's because AI is so good now. We don't need green screens, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, thoughts on how on the design and camera of this thing, please.
My favorite thing that they did multiple times was how they played with perspective. And I wouldn't think that I would enjoy. They all seem to be dropped in subtly but poignantly. When, for example, when Rocky and Grace are celebrating and they go to the sort of the holodeck, I don't know what else to call it at this point, but to watch fireworks. And the first shot that we get of it is to just watch them celebrate. We are away and it's a dirty frame. We have things blocking our view, so we don't get it. We get to sort of witness things. And so much of the film is played, so much of the camera is used as the perspective of a witness, that it did a great job of putting us as the audience of being there but not being the characters. And in a weird way, it really worked with the way that the script happened. And I think that insight was done beautifully. And sometimes I know that sometimes we have a problem with that sort of aspect of being away, but for this, it really seemed to work. And I loved the choices that the camera made in that respect.
I love that thought, and I love it so much, I'm going to say it now. Is my favorite example of that I didn't realize what it was that I liked about it until you just said, is right before the explosion in the lab, that where you're looking at her face and you see that really, really quick flash. And then it turns and then you see the explosion. That's what a interesting way to film that, and what a beautiful detail, because it's almost like your mind is like, was that a mistake? And then and it explodes. Really exciting. But that again is being a witness to something, instead of so many filmmakers would be like, well, this is the money shot, so let's fly a drone over it immediately.
Oh, they never give us that. There's never how'd you the major effect sequences, well, the most major, I guess, effect sequence is probably the collector sequence. Agreed?
Oh, sure. Yeah. On Adrian.
Did you forget that sequence?
No, but I thought you were going to say on Rocky's ship. But yeah.
You just mean just the what Rocky's ship was like inside the ship. Right. The act of him walking around in essentially his own Rocky bubble, I thought was very cool.
Loved it.
I admit it. It was goofy and awesome. The effect sequence, I think, was really interesting, and I wonder how grounded you guys felt in its verisimilitude. Were you lost in space? Did it feel cartoony? There is a little bit of balance between, again, Lord and Miller's affinity toward family and fantasy and Andy Weir's affinity toward hard science and astrophysics.
I don't want to disagree with myself here, but I didn't feel, I just want to say that I did not feel grounded in that sequence. It did feel something that I couldn't possibly experience. So it did feel closer to the Lost in Space side of things, especially with the sort of embers, the flames that are flying back and all these things. And yet it that didn't take me out of the film for any reason, because I think the slow burn of getting to the place where we are there with them allowed me to take the leap of faith to say that this is what's happening, even if I couldn't be grounded in that moment. So it didn't bother me, but yes, it definitely felt less. It felt less practical, even if it was.
Okay, and when I think of grounded, I always think of how the cinematographer and directors are keeping me grounded. Do I know where I am and what's going on around? Like, which way is he walking? Where is he getting to? And what, so oriented. How well am I oriented to where we are? Are we cheating distances? Like, is one shot showing it looks like 30 yards and the next it's like, oh, he's there in 3 seconds? How realistic? And to me, that felt like, I think because of the earlier spacewalks, had sort of given us a little bit of that. So then we have an extended sequence with the high stakes of getting the collector out and then back up and everything going. I felt the tension that was needed because I knew the stakes, and I felt oriented to what needed to happen and where he needed to get to and what his obstacles and barriers were. So to me, it felt very real.
For me, it helped seeing Rocky witness what what's his name was going through, what Grace was going through, and voicing he was almost like an audience surrogate.
Yes,
because part of me wanted to be like, no the whole time. And so it was neat to see that come alive. Instead of, I don't think, unlike Gravity, where there's such a no one there that they invent a fake George Clooney to show up, to talk to her, to be a Wilson, in effect. To have an actual thing there that deeply cared about him really helped amp that up. And they do a really good job of, the first time I ever remember noticing when we started filming space differently was the TV show Battlestar Galactica, because when the ships would go around, the camera work it acknowledged this is a camera, because the camera wasn't focused on it. It would be like, oh, it's over there. Like it would have trouble tracking it, but it didn't have trouble tracking it. It's all fake. They do a really nice job of a mix of that grounded as if you were really filming this, and then also sometimes just planting it on the ship. So you can see things shaking, but the camera isn't. It felt really exciting.
Yeah.
It felt heavy. It felt like everything had weight. And I think that's the practicality in the set that you're talking about.
Yeah, I think so too. And, I mean, this is one of those movies, because you're talking about the exteriors and how we handle camera and the look of space. The interiors and the feel of gravity struck me a little bit sideways in this movie. I was never quite sure when I should be thinking about gravity as a threat or weightlessness as a threat. And because of the people who made this movie and the writer who wrote the story, I just have to constantly remind myself to let go of second guessing anything about gravity, because it's going to be important at some point, and they'll tell you when. Stop thinking about him walking around the ship all the time. Just know they've thought about it, and if you ask, they'll have an answer. And that I found was harder to do in this movie, to get myself out of it and just let it go. I can't really explain why that is, what the evidence is for me not being able to stop thinking about it.
Well, Andy Weir was definitely thinking about it. Like that's evident by the way it's used at different times at the different crises within the story.
Yeah, right. That collector sequence, is one big one. I just don't understand how he's sliding around on the outside of the ship, and not falling completely away. I just don't understand how that works. But I just have to keep saying, it doesn't matter what your feeble brain understands about space. Right. You have not studied it all your life. Just be okay, Pete.
This is also a gradual gravity. Usually it's played for laughs or for scariness in film, because it's just like gravity isn't there and now it's there and everything falls down. I fell on my keys. This was sort of like elegant, and I assume maybe that's how we would actually do it.
Yeah.
And the point is, even if you did spend your whole life studying it,
I probably wouldn't understand it that well.
Well, no one has
experienced
this, so it is a little bit of Play-Doh here, where we can create however we want to in respect to it. So.
I love that it's Play-Doh. Space is Play-Doh, you guys.
It is. Yes. How you want it to look.
Okay, so Gosling. Any specific comments about Gosling and how damn charming he is?
I've really grown to admire him and like him. I had trouble in the beginning. I loved him in Blade Runner because I found him so emotionless as an actor, so desperately understated, that I was like, oh yeah, an android, perfect. Other things like Drive, I was like, he's not acting, he's talking. But he's, I know, and I was completely alone in this. I didn't understand what the attraction was, but he's got so many levels to what he can do. And to be genuinely funny without needing a bunch of wedding cakes to fall into. Like, you can just be funny on your own is fantastic.
He feels a little bit at this point like an anti-Ryan Reynolds. And I think in a way, like,
that's interesting.
It's refreshing. And I like Ryan Reynolds a lot, but like this feels far more effortless. And I really enjoy watching him on screen.
It's really interesting looking at his, just as kind of a child actor, right? His youngest performances, and to see how he has changed. I think I'm obviously not with Tom on the Drive comparison. I think I was with him from the beginning. Although I have to say, I never saw The Notebook. That probably,
I haven't seen it either.
Okay, good. Then I don't feel so alone. But Lars and the Real Girl and Drive and Crazy Stupid Love and Ides of March, like I feel like I've been with the guy for a long, long time. La La Land was another level. Whatever you think of the movie, his participation in it and his willingness to do the music was extraordinary. You remember me? I loved First Man more than all you yahoos. I thought it was fantastic.
Yes, you did.
Oh no.
But his appearances, I think the canonical truth of Ryan Gosling is that his best work has been on SNL so far. His 2 appearances on SNL have been next level. I want to make sure I shout out Neil Scanlon for Rocky's design and James Ortiz as the performer and the voice, who was on set the whole time to be Rocky, which I think was Ortiz is relatively new as in the business. This is a big role for him. He's been around, doesn't have a whole ton of credits, at least listed in IMDb. So it's really exciting to see him here. Any other performances you want to make sure we highlight that you were folks who are excited to see? I only have one other one that I'm irrationally excited about.
What is it?
Milana Vaintrub.
Oh, I totally agree with you. I love that. And for her to pull the accent as well, I was like, yes, it's about time.
You will be hanging with very cool people.
Yes.
I was deeply excited for her to be in this movie. She needs more big movies. She's awesome.
I'm with you.
Everybody else was awesome, but she was one I recognized immediately with great joy. Anybody else on your list?
The pilot that didn't make it, the deceased pilot, is I'm a really big fan of his from Industry on HBO.
Was that Ken Leung?
I like it.
Yao?
Yep.
Yao.
Okay. Yes, he is fantastic. That's for sure. He's been around a long time.
And that is not his accent. He does not talk like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
He upped his accent in order to play that character, which is interesting.
Fascinating. Yeah. No, he's another Lost refugee.
Yes.
He had 49 episodes from Lost.
Very cool.
Miles Straum.
Yep.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sure. You remember old Miles. Score Daniel Pemberton is back with the guys from Spider-Verse, and it was. I think the score is great. I didn't come home humming anything in particular, but it certainly fit the film. All right. If that's all we've got, we have no other slam dunk comments. Any other mic drops? Then it's time. Tom, you have a mic drop.
Did they ever? I don't think it's a mic drop, and I don't know if they said it in the movie. I don't think they did, but do they ever say in the book the reason why his name is Grace and the wordplay involved in that?
No.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
I never got that.
Because the ship is called Hail Mary.
Hail Mary.
Yeah,
he's Grace and he's full of it. All right, the end.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
It was a mic drop.
A mic drop, but then it fell in my pocket. It wasn't a great mic drop.
When Rocky awakes after his great sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
and we've spent all that time with Grace, and he awakes, the moment felt a little light for me, felt shallow. And what I resolved this to was that I think it's because the script is so well written, because in very likely possibility, Grace and Rocky could have talked many times off screen about what it takes for the Iridians to recover, or we don't know much about their sleep pattern and all these things. So the movie does a great job for the audience experience to think Rocky might be dead here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But potentially, Grace knows that he just needs time, and he just needs to watch him over him as he sleeps and these kind of things. Because when he came back to life and he's there, it just seemed like, oh yeah, you're back, which was great, because the idea then that the script is written in a way that gives the audience the greatest understanding of stakes, the greatest drama, the greatest story that can be told here, regardless of what the character experience is, I think was a really special way to deliver that scene, because we understand the stakes regardless of what's really happening in the film. And I thought that made it really special.
That's a really good point. And I do think in the book they do spend a lot more time talking about why Rocky makes such a big deal about you need someone to watch you sleep. And part of it is because their biological cycle is that when they're sleeping, they can't be awakened. It's like impossible to wake them up. And so Grace doesn't know if he's sleeping or injured. He has no idea, even though he knows, maybe from the book lore, exactly what he could be doing sleeping, but they sleep for a very long time.
Right.
And and
I felt like in the
really
film they didn't really expect us to question it. We thought, is he dead or not? And probably dead is what we thought.
There's also a little bit of a pacing issue in that final sequence for me, where we get two endings to the movie, right? We get the first ending where they have a very heartfelt goodbye in the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another heartfelt goodbye and after the rescue, and the distance between the first heartfelt goodbye and the rescue is very short. And that the elapsed time in space-time is like 60 days, but we don't feel any of that. And that's one of the challenges of the movie, is that our experience of time is deeply nonlinear, right? So much time passes and then it moves really fast, and then so much time passes and then it moves really fast. And I don't know how. I certainly don't have any recommendations for making that better, but I do think there is I noticed time passing in some sort of non-functional ways, and it made the final act of the film, I think, neutered a little bit because of the fact that we get so many goodbyes. We only really get two goodbyes. Well, goodbye and hello. There isn't even a goodbye. It's just a goodbye and hello. But it felt a little short to me. I'll stop talking about that.
No, I get that. I mean, and that's the thing. I think ultimately it didn't bother me because I think it was done, like those pacing skips were done for the service of the audience. But I agree. That's the piece where the sort of repetition, if anything, my only quibble with the film is that at parts it felt long, like we were tacking things on.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be alone for 90 minutes straight with anybody, Ryan Gosling is not a bad choice.
I'll vote for him.
It's easy. All right. Letterboxd.com/thenextreel. That's where we review and vote and rate all of the movies that we talk about across the Next Reel family of film podcasts. And we're doing that today with Project Hail Mary. JJ, we already know. Just say it. Get it out of the way. Spew your exuberance all over the board.
5 stars and a like. I can't remember the last movie that I had 5 stars with. And so it feels like a very important movie for me to see. So I'm so happy that we saw it, and I'm going to be recommending it to everyone I know.
Oh, I'm so glad. All right, Tommy.
4.5 and a heart. I loved it. I loved it. Thank you.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Steve.
I really, really enjoyed this movie, but Pete, like you, there was like a gap or a barrier where I just couldn't connect as much as I wanted to, maybe. So I'm at 4 stars. It just didn't pull me in as much. Still really enjoyable. Going to recommend it to everybody. The theater I saw it in last night was packed with people. I think it's going to do really well. It is, but for me, it's just 4 stars and a heart. Yes.
Sigh. I mean, yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I think I'm going to go with 4, and I guess I leave room for it to be one of these sort of resounding 5 stars and a heart movies for me, but I don't know what kind of a watch I have to get there. I will say I went alone.
Oh.
I went alone, and it was surrounded by people. The theater was completely full, and and one other comment, footnote. And I think the rest of the audience really got into it. Like they were, and I think maybe I just was not connecting with the audience experience of the movie at the time. I am seeing it again. My wife has set up a movie date with a whole bunch of her friends, couples, and so we're going again, and we will be seeing it in IMAX at the real IMAX downtown, and I'm excited to see that and have that experience. My footnote is this: I don't think I've ever seen a movie in a standard projection that actually did the Letterboxd IMAX expansion before. And this one did. Did you notice that?
Yeah. The first movie I ever noticed that happening was The Dark Knight. Because he only filmed certain parts in IMAX. No.
But I don't think that happened. I don't remember seeing it in standard projection and getting the expansion. That only happened in the IMAX theaters. Huh. Think about that.
I did not notice.
No, I did not notice.
I will likely see it again, though, too, because my kids are definitely going to want to see this one. I need to introduce them to Rocky.
Yeah. All of the stuff that was on Earth was standard Letterboxd, whatever, 2, 3, 5, and 1, and everything that was in space was full IMAX.
Oh,
I love that.
Wow.
And that was showing up in a standard rinky-dink projection. Hey, rinky-dink theater down the street. Come on the seats. You know what I'm talking about.
I will say that I think Andy Weir is making his Rocky for nerds. Because if you think back to Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy Raw, when he talked about how white guys go see Rocky, and they come out of the theater like, "Oh, Rocco!" Oh.
Yeah.
Well, now you look at The Martian and you look at this, like,
Oh,
people who are
Rocky.
into math and science,
Yeah.
they're going to come out and be like,
They
"I
come out
want
and
to
see
save
their
the
Rocky.
world." I like it. I'm into it.
Well, I can't wait for you all to get your Rocky plushies and snuggle up tight. They're all made of granite, and they're not comfortable, but that's okay. They'll whistle you to sleep. This has been fun, guys. I'm so glad we saw this movie, and I think I'm broken in some way on the inside, and I'll take that. It'll be fun. Tommy, Steve, JJ, thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks for doing the homework. And
All
seeing
right.
the movie.
All I can say is
Oh, they're doing the thing with the arms. Adorable. This conversation sent you down a rabbit hole or reminded you of other films circling the same ideas. We do a lot of that work over at The Next Reel, where we dig into the films and filmmakers that built the language this movie is speaking. You can find everything we do across all of our movie podcasts at the Next Reel family of film podcasts at thenextreel.com. And if this is your first time here because of this movie, stick around. We only do this once a month, and most of the time we pick really crappy movies. Sometimes we pick really good ones. So maybe we're on a run right now. You never know when it starts, if it's a run to come. We try to be picky on purpose. See you next time. Meeting adjourned.